Hello and welcome to the OverShadow ShadowCast with your host Thomas Anderson. Merry Christmas. Hope everybody had a lovely Christmas. It's Boxing Day and I hope you're having a very merry Boxing Day, if there is such a thing. As you know from last week, Abigail Mowat, Tech Wizard, is not with us, so it's just me and you. Hopefully the sound quality is not too bad because the Tech Wizard's not here. It's just sort of her thing. Different equipment and software and only me using it, so hopefully it's not too bad. But we'll just press on anyway, nevertheless. Because it's just me and it's Christmas, there's not much news out. It'll be a short one today. Now, as we know from previous ShadowCasts, I am restricted in how often I'm allowed to talk about Bethesda, because Abigail normally tries to change the topic. We want to cover a bit more about it. We did say at the beginning of, well, a couple of weeks in to the ShadowCast that we wouldn't be talking about Red Dead Redemption 2 and Fallout 76 because they're too big. But we're not actually talking about the game necessarily here when we talk about 76. We're more talking about how it's falling apart, but she still likes us to change the topic. But she's not here. So this time it's Fallout 76. It's just entirely Bethesda. So if you're not interested, you can tune out now, go and have a mince pie. As I said, this isn't about the game, this is more about Bethesda and their handling of Fallout 76 as a disaster. So we'll just get straight into it. The first topic is something of an information leak by PlayStation 4, but not really. They've been doing a new thing recently called PS4 Life, I think, where at the end of the year they give you some sort of video that's computer generated based on your gaming history for that year and your achievement or your trophy unlocks, and they give you some numbers along with the data. So they've accidentally sort of leaked this data, but it's not really a leak because they knew they were doing it. And for those who've played Fallout 76 on PlayStation 4, the numbers were 33,764 players had earned the Photo Bomber trophy in Fallout 76. And it was revealed that 8.3% of all players got this trophy. So simple mathematics reveals that the total number of players who have played Fallout 76 on PS4 are 406,795. As I said, that's not really a leak of information, but what it is disastrous for Fallout 76, because Fallout 76 would be looking to sell millions of copies, at least 1 million for each of the 3 platforms it's available on, PS4, Xbox One and PC. So to have sold 400,000 is a complete disaster, especially for a game that's going to be solely MMO, essentially. It's multiplayer online, there's no other humans in it. That's pretty disastrous. Now, it could be that these numbers are boosted by Christmas, you know, people buying the game, especially the massive 76% sales and stuff like that. It could be people bought it for Christmas or haven't opened it to play it yet, but that's still an absolute disaster that only, you know, worldwide 400,000 PlayStation players bought themselves a copy. And this game came out, you know, this is 2018, not 1998 or even 2008. This game came out, must have been a couple of months before Christmas. It's unlikely people would be not buying games by that point just to wait for Christmas Day. So I don't see this number being much higher after Christmas, although it could be slightly. But the fact that it's nowhere near millions is a disaster, frankly, for Fallout 76. But we'll come on to this story later when there's another story that links into it. The next story is about how Bethesda require you to make a Bethesda.net account to play Fallout 76. It's the game client through which Fallout 76 is played. And I believe on PC for sure you have to have a net account just to buy the game digitally. And you may do on the other on the console versions as well. Things like Star Trek Online, you have to have an account to get everything out of that game, although I think you might be able to play it without one. So it's possible every player has to have a Bethesda.net account, but definitely digital download on PC. They do. And it's the game client through which the game is played. Now, in accordance with certain legislation in the EU, GDPR legislation, All advertising and private information sharing for accounts such as this have to be opt-in and must be set to no or private as a default. With the Bethesda.net account, you are automatically opted in to seeing ZeniMax related ads. That's another part of the Bethesda family. You're automatically opted in to seeing ZeniMax related adverts on other websites, and you can't opt out until you make the account. And then you have to go back in to shut it down by sifting through basically 1 billion menu options, so it's highly unlikely people are actually going to do it. And there's been some talk around the water cooler, as they say, that Bethesda could be in trouble in the EU because of this particular regulation and legislation, because they've clearly not met it. And that doesn't require private persons. The EU themselves can choose to investigate this and then punish accordingly. So I wouldn't be surprised, considering the way the EU usually come down on things, if Bethesda weren't in trouble here. And it looks like they've just deliberately not obeyed the regulation, and they haven't made any moves to change the way their system works, so they're probably going to be in trouble. And it seems utterly pointless. There's no need for them to have done this. But it's yet just another nail in the sort of Bethesda coffin recently of we're not going to do anything properly and just try to do whatever we feel like, possibly to the detriment of our players. And as I said, considering the way the EU have come down on things like loot boxes, this is a very simple piece of investigation. Does it automatically opt you in or out? It automatically opts you in with no way to change it. Even if there was a way to change it to opt out, it still automatically sets you to opt in until you go to the slider and change it, and that's still against the regulations. So this seems very cut and dry, really, that they've done something wrong here. And as such, the EU will shut it down, possibly with a fine if they have to force them to change it, which would just be childish, but it seems to be the way Bethesda are behaving recently. We'll move on to the next story about Fallout. This is more Fallout 76 related than the previous story. Data mining of the coding of Fallout 76 has found DLC items for the Atom Shop, which are already in the game waiting for Bethesda to activate them for sale, including the lunchboxes that we've spoken of in previous podcasts. The lunchboxes worry people, and I'm included in that, because they could be used to make the game pay to win depending on the contents of the lunchboxes. They'd basically be, as we've stated before, loot boxes. There's been a lot of suggestion that they will have damage, carry weight and XP boosts. I believe this is suggestion garnered from examining the coding. And if so, then that would be a loot box pay to win mechanic. The lunchboxes themselves have been in the game code since the beta or beta, however you want to pronounce it. But they've been adjusted in the past few weeks, or a couple of weeks, to be in the Atom Shop. I believe the coding changes ATX means they're in the Atom Shop. And Bethesda's announced that in the hasn't announced, they've adjusted the coding to include them in the Atom Shop, which therefore means you would be spending, realistically, your own money, so you'd be paying to win with a loot box mechanic. So even if they put that in, it'll be a couple of months after they do that the EU, along with other countries, will ban them from doing it. Or at least countries in the EU and other countries will ban them from doing it with, let me see if I can remember, Holland, Belgium, Germany, France, the UK, America, all definitely looking at whether or not they can ban or should ban loot boxes due to the child gambling aspects. Australia are as well, sorry. They sort of started the whole ball rolling scientifically by demonstrating that loot box mechanics were psychologically linked to most other forms of gambling, and Belgium started the ball rolling when it came to, banning them essentially by starting to investigate them legally. An interesting side note is Bethesda's recently announced that in the patch notes for 2019 onwards, they're going to start putting in developers' comments to explain some of the changes that go along with the patch notes, the changes of the patch themselves. And this might be just to try and circumvent player outrage. So instead of allowing the players who are reading the patch notes and the journalists to come up with their own theories, they put their own in to try and circumvent it a little, short circuit some of the outrage, but it's going to fail because they've the way they've handled 76 is just, it's let the cat out the bag, as it were, and now the horse is up to a full gallop, so they're not going to be able to stop it, to, you know, match my metaphors. I find it interesting that first they said there'll be no loot box pay to win. Now it looks like there will be, while they're still stating that there won't be. And so they're trying to basically include notes in the patches to stop people from thinking that there will be. But the data mining clearly demonstrates that there will, because if you add loot boxes which have damage, carry weight and XP boosts to the item shop, then it is pay to win, because that stuff's far too expensive realistically to spend. You'd have to spend about a month or something racking up, or a week racking up enough money for one loot box. So it's, if you paid actual human monies, then you're going to get even more damage, carry weight and XP boosts, and therefore you're going to be paying to win at the game. Even if you don't pay to win, even if those things wouldn't affect competition, although I don't know how you would do that with carry weight. So for example, if humans are fighting each other, players are fighting each other, the damage and XP boosts don't apply. Well, the carry weight still does. It's an advantage to play the whole game being able to carry extra stuff. To be honest with you, this is the sort of behaviour I would, listeners know my absolute hatred of things EA and Activision. As I've recently learned, they're really as bad as EA, if not possibly worse at some things. And this is very EA Activision-esque for me. It's making me feel very disappointed because of how much I like previous Bethesda games, but that's just, well, it's two things. It's disgusting and not finished, because the next part of the story, or the next part of the podcast, is discussing some Atom Shop activity on Fallout 76. The Atom Shop is currently selling a holiday emote pack for 1200 atoms, marked as down 50% from 2400. There are a few other packs. There's one marked down to 700 atoms from 14, I think, and one down from 3000 to 2000. But there's been many commenters on this situation saying that they can never recall seeing the 1200 atom emote pack, the holiday emote pack, for being on sale for 2400. They've been arguing that it was instantly discounted. They've never seen it. Also, the pack itself doesn't actually contain any emotes. The emotes are the same. So that's emotes that would be the players, the characters' actual actions. So if you select wave, they wave. That wave is identical. But in 76, there's a small circle icon appears above their head with a picture in it, and that's what changes. So essentially, you're spending $12 if you're American, and it's 400 atoms for a $5 here. So each atom is not 75 pence, as I had a problem with it last time for some reason. It's 80. So 0.8 times by 12 is a lot of stuff. Well, it's the 1000 is £8, and the 200 would be £1.60. So it's £9.60. It's basically £10 for this little picture above your head to be different for a few of the emotes, and it really isn't that useful after Christmas, is it? Because it's a holiday special emote pack. So that's a tenner or $12 for little pictures. Ridiculously priced. And many are calling this a scam. Now, they don't just mean the prices are ridiculous, because they're right, there's no debating that. They're saying that it's particularly a scam because of the fact that it's marked down from 1200 to 1200. Sorry, from 2400 to 1200, but nobody ever remembers seeing it for sale. Now, the UK has a law. Scotland definitely does, where if you market something as a sale price, you have to demonstrate that the price was if you mark down something as a sale price, normally what you'll do is you'll put the previous price and how much is off of it, or a percentage off, or something like that. Now, if you mark that down as a for sale price or a sale price, you have to demonstrate that for 51% of the year, the price is as it's stated, without any sale or discount applied. However, basically if you go in and you buy a bottle of fizzy beverage, a bottle of ginger, they can't say that it's for sale 50% off if 35 weeks of the year that's the price. what you're paying is they've marked it down, because it's a lie. It's basically not for sale. The other times of the year it's just marked up for some reason, and that really should apply here, because you know, I don't know about other countries, but under UK law you could not advertise this as for sale unless you can prove that it would be available and on sale. Now, a special one-off, I think it's different for special items that are festive or one-offs or something like that. But you would still have to demonstrate that a reasonable amount of time was existent where the price was as you've marked it down from. So you'd have to demonstrate that it was originally for sale at 2400, and if you've sold it for far longer at 1200 than 24, I don't see how you could prove that. Especially if nobody's been able to say that it was available at 2400 atoms. So it does appear to fit into the bracket of scam. I mean, the price alone would, I mean, don't bother as far as I'm concerned unless you're extremely rich, but then I'd rather you, I mean, let's be honest, that's a tenner. Go and buy a game. I think Doom right now is discounted at $11.93 or something. Go and buy that if you don't have it. I mean, Bethesda's family still gets the money, but at least it's for a game that was good. Some information on it. Mr. Matty Plays, we get some of our knowledge, some of our information from him. He is a YouTuber, if you don't know, and he was able to submit a ticket to get his money back and succeeded in getting a refund for the pack. Because remember, they're not very open about what it is. They say that it's an emote pack, but it's not the actual emotes that change, it's just a picture that goes with them above the character's head. So he was able to get a refund, but he's heard from other people that they weren't all successful in getting refunds. And remember, this is $12 in America. But, I mean, that's basically, he's got the refund because he has a massive following on YouTube. That's why. So Bethesda have run numbers and realised it would cost them more to not give him his money back. But they're not doing that for everyone. It's a simple attack on equality, really. So it's very seedy. It's very, 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 I mean, this is the bad aspect of capitalism, really. This is why you regulate a free market and don't just let it do whatever it wants, because then, you know, if money is the be all and end all, this stuff happens. A nice little kick in the teeth is that some of the emotes, which aren't actually different emotes, they just change the picture, as I've said a few times now. If you use them, they make the frame rate drop sometimes. So not only are you out of pocket, your gameplay experience, as shoddy as it probably already was for 76, is reduced yet further if you try and wave at one of the very few people that's going anywhere near you. I mean, that is really a kick in the teeth. The next story carries on with this aspect of Bethesda acting rather fashionably when it comes to their business practices, shall we say. Now, we've had the story before of the canvas bag shortage of 2018, where they had to go down into the mines of Moria to dig up the rare canvas and mine it, so they could then replace the rubbishy bags they gave people without giving them any warning with the actual bags they should have in the first place, even though they were able to get enough canvas to give the canvas bags to the testing crew they had come through, as it were. They had the influencers, that's the name, come in and play it, and then gave them a free canvas bag, but didn't give a canvas bag to people who actually paid for it. Bethesda have been selling Nuka Dark Rum for $80 in the United States in real life. This is not a game item. This is it's an alcoholic beverage in the same sort of theme as Nuka Cola, which is the main soft drink in the game's lore, in the game's world. And this is a real rum that they've been selling. Or yes, they have been selling, they've not been shipping, but they've been selling in the US for you to actually buy and drink alcoholic beverage. Now, it's supposed to ship at the same time as Fallout 76, but was delayed because it wasn't up to standard. I'm just going to let that sink in, that they delayed this because it wasn't up to standard, but they didn't delay the game. I'm just going to let that sink in. That's sunk enough, just like Fallout 76. But it's now been delayed again. The Dark Rum's been delayed again. People have been told by email it will be delayed again for a few weeks. Yet it was actually specifically advertised in some places that you would have it for Christmas or the holiday period. So clearly that's a problem. But the worst thing is that I said that this was in the theme of the game. This was sort of came from the game's lore. This item, and that's because the shape of the bottle is shaped identically to the shape of the fizzy juice bottles in the game. The bottles of ginger are shaped like old sort of World War II style, 50s style nuclear bombs. That's why it's called Nuka-Cola. But people have recently found out, it was shown in a YouTube video, you can go and see, I don't have the link to it, I don't know if it's still available. We've recently found out that the bottle isn't the bottle. It's a plastic bottle covering with a, pardon me, whoa, I'm so I'm so angry, I've turned into a wee boy. The plastic bottle contains a normal glass bottle inside, and people are rather furious. If you look at the likes to dislike ratio, they're very angry, quite rightly so, because people have bought this thing without really knowing that what they're buying is a plastic container with a normal bottle inside. They wanted the glass Nuka-Cola bottle, even if it's rum, you know, that's what they were really paying for, and they're quite right to feel hard done by that this is not what they're getting. They're getting a plastic cover of a normal bottle. I mean, the rum is there and the glass bottle is there, but the bottle shape is plastic, so you can see why they would be angry, because they've bought it for lore, memorabilia, collector's item piece, and now it's just a piece of tat. Because let's be honest, they're not buying it to drink the alcohol. You're not buying a bottle of rum for $80 to drink the rum. I mean, not unless this is... I mean, I cannot think of anything that would be worth that much. That's rum. I mean, it would have to have been on like the HMS Victory during the Battle of Trafalgar to be worth anywhere near $80, although that would probably be worth about $8,000 to be fair. But nobody's buying it to drink the rum. They're buying it for the collector's piece, and now they're being told that that doesn't really exist. So you can see why they're annoyed, because the plastic's probably worth about 20 pence. And then you've got to ask yourself, what standard is it that slipped that meant they've delayed it at least twice? I mean, let's be honest, they're not going to be brewing a new batch of rum in that time. And the normal glass bottle's a normal glass bottle. If your glass bottles aren't good enough, just buy some from somewhere else. What standard has slipped? What, the cheap tacky plastic was too cheap and tacky, or not cheap and tacky enough? I don't understand what's the problem there. That's a joke. That's just a joke. It wasn't up to standard. What standards have you got anymore, Bethesda? It's just... That's... well, my inner Abigail's telling me that I should move on to the next story, but that one just particularly galling, that they had the barefaced cheek and the gall, and didn't even see the ridiculousness in stating that it wasn't up to standard after they released the game like 6 months to a year too early. It's just, wake up, Bethesda. So the next story is about Bethesda banning players from Fallout 76. Now, we all know stories of people playing certain games getting banned because they've been naughty boys and girls, and I'm not sure I appreciate things like perma-banning, because I very much believe in the idea that people should be given a second chance and rehabilitated and helped. So I don't know about it, permanently banning someone. It's not my cup of tea, but banning them at least for a while I understand. Especially if they're not playing the game properly and getting in everybody else's way. But in this instance, they're banning people for using mods. Now, this does make sense when it comes to cheating, obviously, and it makes some degree of sense. You can't have people cheating to win in a multiplayer online game. You've got to block that. If it's single player, multiplayer, whatever, but especially when you're playing online with other people, you've got to block cheaters. And it also makes some degree of sense when it comes to extra content until there are private servers, because you want to make sure that your extra content, your DLC, which they said is coming and will be free, is going to be freely available to everybody. Although if all they add is DLC items to the Atom shop, then that's not freely available, is it? But if that's what they're... I can understand them saying don't use mods although a permanent ban or even a temporary ban for just using mods seems a bit harsh if it doesn't actually change the gameplay aspect and affect anybody else. If they're, adding extra content, well, the person is playing the game. You're still getting what you want. But I suppose the problem is if that modding becomes too accessible to everybody else. And Bethesda have done this in the past. They originally tried to block modding for previous games, but then they realised that it was massively improving the shelf life of their games, so promoted it. Which they've tried to backtrack on this because they're clearly trying to use Fallout 76 as a money pit, which free mods can't help with, but you've got so little content in that game. Anyway, I disagree with it, but I can understand why they would do it. But there's still a bit of a problem there though, in that their support page only states that mods might stop the game working properly. I have to stop there again, just let you think about that. That's the not up to standards and it might stop the game working properly. Your game has no standards and already doesn't work properly. This is getting a bit ridiculous, Bethesda. Try a little bit of self-awareness, please. But it only states that the mods might stop the game working properly. Although maybe that's what they're trying to blame Fallout 76's ridiculous and buggy current state on. But maybe that's the next story for next week. But yeah, it's just hilarious. The game support page only states that they might stop the game working properly, not that they are banned. So that's a bit unfair, to ban everybody for using mods and you haven't told them they're not allowed to. I can understand the cheating ones, and I can understand turning to people who are modding and saying, right, we're changing the support page, don't add the extra content or we will block you temporarily until our own is available, and we set up private servers because your modding content, if it adds extra content, could affect other people. Although I disagree with it because of the current state of the game, I can understand that. But a lot of the players who are affected are allegedly players who only modded the graphics or the display setting, because for some reason Fallout 76 doesn't have all the possible display ratio settings, and so they've banned them for that, and that's just frankly stupid because it advertises the fact that you've screwed up the display settings. They should all be there. There's no reason why they shouldn't. I mean, if it's your pathetically outdated engine or the fact you didn't do your job properly, that's on you. Why are you banning these people for trying to fix your mistake? It makes the game look better and play a little bit better in some cases, so why would you do that? And maybe it's just they're embarrassed, so they're trying to stop it, or maybe they want, when they bring in a DLC, to fix it so that they can raise their arms in triumph, whereas if some modder fixed it 6 months ago, it's just embarrassing for you, but it's a disgrace, frankly. Now, for those people who have been banned, there is good news. Hilarious and good news. To appeal the ban, all you have to do is contact Bethesda. They've got a particular support page for it, and it probably has no information either, but it does have this. To appeal the ban, this is what they say: you must write an essay on why the use of third-party cheat software is detrimental to an online gaming community. How is fixing the graphics or the display ratio settings cheating? How? Oh my, just in case you could hear it changing my voice, it's because I've got my head in my hands and I'm rubbing my face because I do not understand how this is cheating. How is this cheating to be able to play in, 16:9 instead of whatever nonsense you had? Y by alphabet sign 2. How? Oh. But that's just ridiculous. It really sums up Bethesda. Not only that they've banned people for this, possibly accidentally, but still, it's no excuse. But it's the fact that there is such a pretentious and superior way of dealing with people when you've made the mistake. Get them to write an essay on why the use of third-party cheat software is detrimental to an online gaming community. 1, they haven't used cheat software. 2, your game is detrimental to an online gaming community. And then they're saying, right, we need you to write an essay. Yeah, so if you get accidentally banned, you have to write Pete Hines and whatever else his face is called, and you've got a holiday, you've got a Christmas holiday homework assignment to do. You've got homework over the Christmas period if you just got banned for this, to try and get back into a game that for some reason you want to play, but definitely shouldn't. Well done, Bethesda. You've got about 6 players left. You've banned half them. You accidentally banned half them. Modders have helped Bethesda in the past because many Bethesda games are buggy messes to start with, right? And modders can be very helpful. They can also add content, prolonging shelf life. And here we are with Bethesda banning the few people they've got left playing for no reason whatsoever because they've made a mistake again, and then they get them to write this pretentious, grovelly, on your knees apology letter for not having done what the apology letter is supposed to state you've done. And this is the only way of fixing it. This is how you contact them, with an "oh my god, I am so sorry, I apologise" letter. I don't know how bad the sound quality's got while I'm shouting, but I am both flabbergasted, my gast is totally flabbered, and I am head in hands and just outraged by this nonsense. How pretentious and laughable is that? How superior is that you are given a piece of homework to do? You're given an essay on... How old did they market this game to? Do you think a 48-year-old man with 3 or 4 kids is really going to sit there and write an apology essay because he's been a naughty boy when he actually hasn't, or phone a lawyer? Or just put the game away and never play it again? And possibly never buy another Bethesda family game ever again? No, I don't mean games for families, I mean the Bethesda bracket of gaming development studios. It's ridiculous. This is, just to round off the stupidity here, according to Bethesda, this is the biggest game they've developed, as in it's used the most developers. They've used several Bethesda studios, and developers from Arcane and id Software have helped as well. Well, what were they doing? Was it a competition with half these people trying to make the game rubbish and the other half trying to fix it, and it turns out the first half won? It's ridiculous. So here we are, right? We're another story, it's really the last one, and we're looping back around now. And at the beginning, we spoke about PS4 players of Fallout 76, and now we're going to talk about sales numbers again, just to finish the whole story off. And that was a table I hit. Just to finish the whole story off and see really what the state of it is. Fallout 76, I believe it was back at the beginning of December, dropped out of the top 10 UK physical copy sales charts. And to put that into context, Red Dead released in October. I think its lowest position's been 3rd, maybe 4th, but it's now back up at the top. Taking into account digital estimations, or estimations of digital sales, I should say, sorry. It's estimated that Fallout 76 total November digital sales are 1.4 million units max. So that's first month post-release, and they've sold 1.4 million units max. That's across all 3 of the platforms it's available on: Xbox One, PS4 and PC. Some people have suggested that to try and improve player numbers, Fallout 76 should go free to play if it's going to be saved. But what would that say about those people who have already spent so much money on this game? I mean, they're already disappointed enough as it is, let alone they could have got it for free, like less than 2 months or 2 months after its release. That's too big a slap in the face. I don't think Fallout 76 can be saved by doing that. It would just annoy too many people. However, there is an argument for saying that it could have been launched free to play, especially if the Atom Shop's going to have that sort of price range for it. And you're going to be forced to watch adverts for other ZeniMax Studios products. It's an interesting conversation, Fallout 76, from a gaming aspect and from a gaming journalism aspect. The one bad thing about it is a lot of fan boys and fan girls are jumping on the clickbait hate train, saying that anybody who's saying anything bad about 76 and Bethesda are just doing it so that people, clickbait basically, because they know people want to see and hear that. That doesn't happen to us because we're quite tiny, if we technically even exist at all. There's a bit of existentialism for you, but if you are actually accusing people of that, then I'm sorry, but you're not helping yourself, Bethesda, or anybody else, and you're getting in the way. Because you're entitled to your opinion, you're entitled to voice it, but that's the point, so are they. And you're not helping anybody by saying that people pointing out the errors Bethesda have made is somehow just clickbait hate train, because it's not. These errors have actually happened and people are angry about them. So you're entitled to disagree, but you've got to disagree for a reason. You can't be arguing that yellow is black or that brown is green and expect anybody to give it any credence. You're entitled to say it, but it's still nonsense. And I don't think that's going to be helping sales numbers either, is it? Let's be honest. You're hearing so many bad things about Fallout 76. It's sold 1.4 million units max. That's less than... it's millions that we're supposed to be selling, so it's catastrophically low. And now the only people that you might be on playing with will be gaming journalists who clearly don't like it, or objectively think it's bad, and those who are massively aggressive to anybody who doesn't like even the single smallest part of it, even if they have good reason. So you're not helping anybody. To combine those two things there, you're entitled to like the game, and you're entitled to voice your opinion and such, but you're clearly not helping yourself, Bethesda, or Fallout 76. You're denying reality so strongly and clearly that nobody's buying the game, and there's a reason for that. Also, defending a business potentially having broken laws simply because you like one of their products is probably not a strong moral position to then say other people are just jumping on the bandwagon. It's probably not a strong moral position, so I'd just try and think it through a little bit more. The best way of summing up all the stories we've spoken about in this ShadowCast is simply that Bethesda don't know how to handle this snowballing catastrophe because they've been given a free ride a lot in the past because their games were so good they could be buggy messes and people didn't really mind. Even though some of those bugs were gigantic and catastrophic, they were allowed away with it. They shouldn't have been, but they were. And I can understand why, because I did it myself for a while. And I think that's probably the most frightening thing for Bethesda. They've never really produced a game, or like an open world sandbox RPG of this nature, that didn't have a catastrophic catalogue of bugs. So their entire business model might have just been thrown out the window by this mistake. So I can understand why they're struggling to deal with it from that point of view, but they should never have been allowed to get into this position anyway. So they do deserve they've earned all the slapback that they've got. I just hope that they find a way of getting past it. And I'm not enjoying this because I'm enjoying holding them to account, but I'm not enjoying the fact I need to, because I love a lot of their games. They've been some of the best games I've ever played and I've enjoyed, and I'm really angry that they are in this position because of their own fault, essentially. They've done this to themselves and all of their fans and players, because it's them that will suffer alongside Bethesda. But keep an eye on it, and hopefully next while, they've got a lot of games coming out next year. The Bethesda umbrella of game development companies, hopefully they will not suffer anything like this, and Bethesda can learn that they can fix a problem by being human about it. Anyway, that's all the news for this week. Kind of good that Abigail wasn't here for a news week that's basically just 76 and Bethesda, because they're screwing so much stuff up. When I heard that story about having to write an essay, I actually thought maybe putting on some sort of like one-man radio play might be better, because it was so laughable. Or maybe writing out an actual essay as an example where I'm sorry I screwed up, you spelled screwed with a K. But that's all we have time for this week. That's all the news this week. I hope that you enjoyed it and that the sound quality without Tech Wizard wasn't too bad. If you liked this ShadowCast, please like and subscribe below, and we've got a backlog of ShadowCasts that you can listen to, and we hope that you do. You can also follow us on Facebook at overshadow.shadowcast, and you can contact us via email at overshadow.shadowcast@gmail.com. So again, it's just me next week, and then Abigail's back. The Tech Wizard returns in a fortnight, and I will see you next week. Bye.